people out of harm's way, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. The weather affects each and every single one of us. We all have a role to play as well in making sure that we assist folks who may be of need. It could be as simple as working to go across the street or next door to check on a neighbor who may need some assistance. So I ask everyone to be helpful, to be careful, and to be patient during the inclement weather that is coming to the city of Milwaukee in the next day or so. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Assistant Chief Josh Parrish.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for coming today. Just wanted to let you all know that the Milwaukee Fire Department, in coordination with the Mayor's Office, is going to be in contact with all of the other applicable emergency agencies as we prepare for these next few days of extreme weather. We are expecting what is affectionately the trifecta of some snow, some incredibly high winds, and incredibly cold temperatures, which will then wreak havoc on our infrastructure systems, mainly the beautiful trees that we have in the cities and also the wires that supply the power that we use to heat our home, run our telecommunications, and so on and so forth. It also has the potential to cause a variety of other issues, such as car accidents as we get black ice and so on and so forth on the road. So we have a few very simple asks for really everybody as we move forward with this. One, if you can stay home, stay home. It's the holiday season. Be with your loved ones, be with your families. Two, as the mayor alluded to, pick somebody or two or three of extreme temperatures. Three, make sure that you are heating safely. Do not use your ovens to heat your homes. Be mindful of space heaters. If it gets really, really chilly and your furnace can't keep up, throw in a hoodie, throw in a comfy sweater or an ugly sweater. But please, please, please don't do anything that would put yourselves or your loved ones in jeopardy, especially right before the holiday. And four, make sure that you're patient with both the fire department and the police department and the responders from We Energies and the system as a whole as we work through these things. It is Wisconsin. We do have these exceptional cold snaps, so we do have plans in place to work through these things, but those things take time. We will be meeting with our applicable partners later on today to stand up the rest of our emergency plans to make sure that we can be effective, efficient, and prompt in responding to whatever emergencies present themselves in the next 48 hours. And we appreciate everybody's cooperation as we move through that. We have individuals here from the health department, from some other city agencies, and also from We Energies, and also the Milwaukee Police Department that will begin to speak about some of the things that they're going to do to be prepared and ensure that we're able to offer safe and effective service over the next couple of days. So with that, I would like to introduce Deputy Director Chris McGowan from Milwaukee County Office of Emergency Management. Chris.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris McGowan. I'm the Deputy Director of the Office of Milwaukee County Office of Emergency Management. OEM has been working with several community partners throughout our community and municipalities in preparation for the storm. Some of the biggest concerns that we have are going to be some of the commuting around the area during the weather event. Although the National Weather Service is now predicting a lower amount of snow, it is the blowing of that snow that may be a larger concern than the actual volume of it. So as the people are moving through the commute tomorrow morning and into Friday, the blowing snow is going to be one of our primary concerns. There will be a lot of DOT crews out on the road surfaces to try and make them as passable as possible, but with that blowing snow, that's still going to continue to be a hazard through the weekend. Some of the other things that I want to talk about is preparation. So we've had about a week to prepare for this storm, maybe less. And so some of the things that I want to talk about is some of the things that individuals can do to prepare for this event. So some of the things to consider is keeping your electronic devices as fully charged as possible in the event that you do lose power and you do need to make communications calls either to 911 or family members if there is a loss of power. Please make sure that you have adequate food and water supplies for a few days if there is a loss of power. With the cold temperatures, it'll be difficult for crews to restore power. They're going to restore power as quickly as possible, but you may be without power for a few days. The other thing to consider is if you do choose to be out and about, and as Chief Parrish mentioned, please restrain that as much as possible if you don't need to be out. Consider an emergency kit for your vehicle. Things to think about are make sure you have a full fuel tank, a snow shovel, your clothing, blankets, and things of that nature in your car, as well as non-perishable food snacks in case you are trapped in your vehicle for an extended period of time. One of the locations that you can look on the internet for additional information is readywisconsin.wi.gov. There's a lot of preparatory information that will help guide some of that decision making. The last thing I want to speak about is throughout this course of this storm, there will be many sheltering and warming areas that will be opening and closing throughout our community. OEM is working with several partners, and you'll hear from a couple of them shortly about where some of those locations are. Our greatest resource for this is probably going to be the 211 phone agency, and so if municipalities are opening and closing warming centers, if they would forward that information of times and locations to the Office of Emergency Management and or 211, then that will be the repository for that information. And with that, I am turning over to Mr. Nick Tomorrow from the Dr. Nick Tomorrow from the Milwaukee Health Department.
Good morning, everyone. Again, Nick Tomorrow, the Emergency Preparedness and Environmental Health Director from City Milwaukee Health Department. Again, obviously coordinating closely with first responders and so many community partners, the Mayor's Office, on events like such as this. The Milwaukee Health Department coordinates with Milwaukee County Office of Emergency Management on what's called the Extreme Weather Task Force. We are having a coordination meeting with multiple partners this afternoon. We have a situational briefing from the National Weather Service. And that venue is a coordination call meant to really bring information important from entities here and other groups to a wide-ranging community to help support the full community in an event like this. Chris and others stressed, from the health department standpoint, we really want to focus on the fact that the changing weather predictions, the wind chill factor is going to be critical and the most life-threatening. So Chris talked about the gusts that will be predicted in the 40 to 50 mile an hour range. Wind chill advisories will be in effect as early as late tonight and throughout the next several days. So we've got a multiple day event. It's really important also, I think, to highlight that we're in a holiday time, and it really in ways complicates things in terms of responses and in terms of just the fact that everybody's going to be gathering with each other in a holiday event. So from the health department standpoint, we talk about staying prepared, staying safe, staying informed. Obviously a lot of information already given. We focus on those who are most vulnerable. The mayor talked about, Assistant Chief Parrish talked about older adults, infants and young children. Obviously, again, at the holidays, we will be having situations where people are celebrating. So those who are using alcohol or other substances, just how important it is when people are impaired at these time periods in this type of extreme weather and conditions. Those who may be suffering from mental illness or other conditions that could impair their judgment. Just so important as a community and as families and friends that we think about those who may not be able to take care of themselves in these types of conditions. If people are on certain types of medications, those who will be forced to have time outdoors because of their work, absolutely need to focus on those who do not have adequate shelter or those who don't have adequate heat in their homes. Rafael Acevedo from the city will be talking about the continuum of care and planning that's being done around those who are unsheltered and unhoused, and how important it is as a community that we look and really look out for those who are not adequately sheltered at this time. So again, comments have been made, but checking your furnace, making sure you get an emergency call in right now if you need it, checking your carbon dioxide detectors, look at your car tires, look at your emergency kits at home. In terms of protecting yourself in these elements, wearing appropriate clothing with thin layers, but multiple layers, mittens, hats, scarves, waterproof boots, having blankets and warm clothing available at all times. Again, thinking about your caffeine and alcoholic beverage intake that can increase the effects of cold weather. Try to really look at those advisories and avoid traveling during weather service advisories. Working slowly if you have to be outdoors and being safe. And when you're out on your properties, having sand and salt to keep you safe and upright. Everyone stay informed through venues such as this, local weather and news reports. From a health and safety standpoint, frostbite can occur within minutes. Hypothermia can be life-threatening. Signs of hypothermia for yourselves, for those who you're around. Shivering, drowsiness, clumsiness, confusion. Signs of frostbite, numbness, tingling, stinging, aching. And again, Assistant Chief Parrish stressing just heat safety in your home, carbon monoxide poisoning, symptoms such as headaches, nausea, disorientation, as extreme as seizures, comas, respiratory failure, and death. So again, lastly, just really stressing those who are most vulnerable. We work together as families, as friends, and as a community to really think about those who are going to be most at risk at this time. Thank you. Rafael Acevedo from the city.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rafael Acevedo. I'm Grant Compliance Manager for the City of Milwaukee. The City of Milwaukee is the lead agency for the Milwaukee Continuum of Care. We refer to the Milwaukee COC, which is a city countywide collaborative effort with multiple, over 100 community partners with a focus on ending homelessness. As we move into sub-zero temperatures and high levels of snowfall, the COC has never been more important for the safety of the individuals who are unhoused in our city. The COC has moved into a more traditional warming response. The traditional approach provides both walk-in warming sites and sites that that we don't necessarily publicize because we're really looking at and focusing on the safety of the individuals that we work with, but also the safety of our volunteers and staff. There are 2 walk-in sites throughout in the city of Milwaukee, mainly in the downtown area. One is St. Ben's, which is on State Street. And at these locations, what we do is we provide intakes services, and we could evaluate the individual and see what their needs are. So St. Ben's, there's intake hours from Monday through Friday from 1 to 3, excluding holidays. And our second site is Repairs with a Breach, which is on Valete Street. And their intake hours are Monday through Fridays from 9 to 11, again, excluding holidays. While the walk-in warming site locations are public, again, I want to really emphasize this, the Milwaukee COC warming site addresses are kept private. Again, for the safety and coordination of all who utilize these locations, and again, for our guests and also for our staff and volunteers. The Milwaukee COC warming sites are really across the city and county. We've been working diligently as a system to prepare for this time. We've really changed from our traditional warming approach that's really evolved through the pandemic. And the last 2.5 years have been extremely challenging, not just for the population that we serve, but to make sure that when we are housing individuals, we're keeping safety in the forefront. While the effects of the pandemic continues, federal COVID response resources and fundings have decreased. With this change and the evolution of the system, the COC still has the capacity to serve our neighbors who wish to come inside for warmth. We are in this together. If members in the community or somebody they feel concerned about, they can contact professional street outreach at outreach@milwaukeecountywi.gov or call 211. The COC has a mission to go beyond the warm place to stay for the night. Through the connections made in the Milwaukee COC warming rooms, we are able to offer more support for the pathway for stable and consistent housing. And just keep in mind, our focus is when we're working with our population is housing and homelessness. So that's really our main focus, and we do have a lot of individuals within our system working with all these individuals to try to get them into housing, which is our priority. Again, also just want to mention that we do have multiple street outreach teams out there day and night checking up on folks and making sure that they have a warm place to stay. Lastly, we are all in this together. Let's keep ourselves and others safe as this severe weather is upon us already. So, thank you.
We're going to close with Brendan Howard from We Energies.
So like everyone, I think across the state, we've been keeping a close eye all week on the forecast and making plans, around that. So, first and foremost, we made sure that all available crews for We Energies and our contract crews will be working through the week, through Thursday, through Friday, Certainly some planned vacations were canceled because of this storm. We've also put out a request for mutual aid assistance. So oftentimes you hear about that where crews will head down to Florida after a hurricane or advance of a hurricane. Well, now we're requesting some of those resources here. And if they're needed, we could request some of those resources, most likely from the Midwest, but keep in mind that all other utilities in the Midwest are dealing with the same thing and the same type of weather. We're also in advance of the storm, keeping a close eye, as I mentioned in the forecast, and moving resources around if need be. So for different areas, making sure that we have the appropriate, whether it's power lines, power poles, power equipment. You know, as the storm gets closer, I think we can probably continue to move those resources around and make sure they're available. Our request for our customers is if your power goes out, and we certainly hope that that's not going to be a widespread event, but if your power goes out, report it to us. Don't assume that we know that your power is out, because by reporting it to us, number one, it helps us narrow down where the outage might be, what the issue might be, and also we can keep you informed. You can do that 3 ways. You can do it through our app, so download that if you haven't already, the We Energies app, through our website, or you can call 1-800-662-4797. And again, once you're in the system, once we know you're in outage, we can then proactively reach back out to you. The other thing we'd mention is if there are outages and if there are down power lines, stay away. You know, if you see a line, assume it's a power line, assume it's energized, stay at least 25 feet away, call us and let us know about it. Don't think it's a cable line, don't think, oh, it's a down power line, there's no energy there. Stay far away, and we say 25 feet away because it can come into contact with something else and cause an issue. And just to reiterate what the chief had mentioned, if there's an outage, know that our crews are out there. It's going to be cold, it's going to be difficult. On the best of days, restoring power can be a bit of a challenge. It's obviously a potentially dangerous equipment. We're talking about high energy lines. Well, now we're going to be taking wind chills, 0 degrees, people working with their hands up in bucket trucks. So report your outage to us, and then we just ask you to be patient. Thank you.
So thank you all for coming today. We appreciate your time and attention for this incredibly critical but incredibly important topic. We'll take a couple questions and then we'll wrap it up.
It seems like power outages could be a significant.
If you are just joining us or you jumped in some.
Friday and people are without power, are vacations going to be canceled? City employees, fire employees, I mean, kind of what's the plan looking 2, 3, 4 days ahead into Christmas?
So for specific to power outages, I'll pass that to Brendan. And you know, as always, especially from the fire and police standpoint, we are already a 24/7, 365 operation. There is not a day or an hour that goes by that we are not prepared and ready to provide coverage for really whatever the emergency has presents itself. So that's one of the things with being an all hazards agency is that literally whatever, you know, Mother Nature can throw at us, that is our job to
I
respond
mean,
to that.
yeah, he mentioned vacations canceled. Are you having to tell people that had the holiday weekend off that they have to come back to work?
Yeah, so we staff every day. You know, every day is the same staffing for the fire department, regardless if it's a holiday or not. So.
Is there enough shelter for the people who are living outside right now?
Shelter question.
Enough shelter space?
Yeah, we can always use more space, but I think we have been working diligently day and night, just really pulling all of our resources together to make sure that we have enough space for everyone who's outdoors, especially now. So we feel pretty confident that we can get people indoor who want to come indoor during these cold winter days that are coming ahead of us.
Just being that we are Wisconsin, so often we meet people who think, I lived in Wisconsin my whole life, this is fine, I'm not worried. What is your message to those people who are not seeing this as a severe weather event, potentially weather?
It's a great question. I mean, even if you live here all your life, like I know I have, cold is still cold. Biologically, it affects your body the exact same way from day 1 or day 10,000. Same thing with your house. I think one of the interesting components that we deal with in our modern times is that we are a lot more technologically dependent now than we were 50, 60, 70 years ago. So it's really mindful, as I mentioned, if you have medical devices that are charged, that need to be charged, charge them now. If you were planning to go to a relative's house, that's probably not a great idea. So like the modification that we can make to keep ourselves safe, regardless of how long you've been here, is really what we're pressing this upcoming weekend. And also to remember that there are people who have lived here their whole life, but they're in a more vulnerable state right now. That's really, really key, is to keep an eye on those individuals, spread that that holiday spirit that, that we all talk about. Like, it's time to actually do that thing right now and, checking on the people who, you should be checking in on, who have lived here their whole life, because they may need a helping hand or invite over to your house for the holidays.
Is there anything the community can do to not overwhelm the dispatch system or first responders when it gets really, really bad?
Absolutely. I think the key is to be patient. As it mentions, we're restoring powers, we're responding to runs. If there are down trees, down poles, some services just take a little bit longer because we add additional demand to the system. So we do get to everything, whether it's the police department, the fire department, We Energies, the Office of Emergency Management. There is no, we are not coming. Sometimes it just takes a little bit longer. So thank you all for your time today. We appreciate it. And Godspeed. Enjoy your weekend.
All right, well, if you are just joining us or if you jumped in at some point during that press conference, you were listening to Milwaukee officials give a press conference as a strong weather system is on its way. We know that this weather system is bringing bitter cold temperatures, accumulating snow, some heavy winds. And so we listened to people like the assistant fire chief who you just heard from there. He talked about the importance of having materials inside of your home. If your power goes out, having a space heater, but definitely being careful with that. We heard from someone with the emergency management team really talking about preparations outside of your home. If you have to be inside of your vehicle, making sure you have extra clothing, extra food, extra snacks, just in case you are trapped possibly inside of your vehicle. Also, lastly, we heard from the health department saying that they are having meetings right now to help support the community, but they really did hit on the wind chill because these are dangerous conditions. So for some perspective on this, I definitely want to bring in meteorologist Brendan Johnson. Brendan, we both just listened to this press conference. Yeah. We talked about wind chills and really how it may not be the accumulation of snow, but the wind kind of just drifting that if you do have to drive in those kinds of bitter cold conditions.
Yeah, absolutely, Simone. I mean, it's going to be such a quick change with this Arctic front that comes in on our Thursday. Dropping wind chills, I mean, watch this front make its way across the landscape here as we roll through our Thursday afternoon. By midday into the afternoon, we are double-digit below zero wind chills, and it's only going to take about 10 minutes if you've got exposed skin to develop frostbite. So these officials talking about, being in your car, you're traveling maybe 50 miles between Milwaukee over to Madison, that hour 15 drive. God forbid something happens. You hit a patch of ice or something happens with the car and you're not dressed for the cold because you're thinking, okay, I'm going to be in the heated car. You really just want to make sure you have all those extra items in your car, that extra blanket, making sure your devices are charged and that you're able and you have things packed to be able to weather the cold if you have to be stranded for a little bit of an extra time. We are looking at minus 30-degree wind chill values throughout the course of our Friday, and it doesn't look like it gets a whole lot better as we roll into the afternoon. Those winds certainly very gusty out of the north and west here as we roll into our Thursday, upwards of 50-mile-per-hour gusts likely there Thursday into Friday. So that's really the big issue with this storm system. Of course, there is going to be a snow accumulation with this as we head into our Thursday and Friday category or time frame here, 3 to 5 inches for much of southeastern Wisconsin with some higher totals up to the north. Of course, we'll be watching this very closely as the storm system nears. Simone?
Yeah, certainly, Brendan. And we do have the very latest coming up on TMJ4 News at noon. Brendan and I will both be here and also online at TMJ4.com. We'll see you right back here at 12 o'clock.